my laptop is a Mac, and it was not wanting to play nice with Huva today for some reason. So I am on my husband's IBM laptop. So it's very different. And if I push the wrong button, I just no promises. So
okay.
promise I will return if I happen
You'll come back. That's great.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, it's, what is it, 1:46 computer time. Let's go ahead and get going. I've got my online teacher brain, so I'm like ready to ask everyone for a thumbs up, but I see that everyone's here, so we'll just get going. All 21 of us. Okay, well, welcome everyone to our afternoon session. This is about becoming a certified local food leader, and we're going to get into the details of this certification in this presentation and talk about why this is relevant to, I would say, most people in Alaska, regardless of background, profession, taste palette, doesn't matter. So that's what we'll get into in a little bit. Okay. And as I said earlier to Melissa, I'm also moderating this session. So if we have tech difficulties, we'll be right back. We'll see what happens. So this is who we are. I am on the right-hand side of the screen. Melissa, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Clampitt. I work for the University of Alaska Fairbanks with the Institute of Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Extension. I'm with the Cooperative Extension Arm, and I'm a program assistant in the Mat-Su Copper River District. And I have been a local food leader for several years, and just really excited to be able to train more local food leaders. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you get some interest in what we're offering today.
Awesome. So I met Melissa a couple years ago. I teach at Alaska Pacific University. I'm a business professor, but I also manage our 800-acre farm campus in Palmer, and have started with a different colleague, FRESH, the Food Research Enterprise and Sustainability Hub. And the whole goal of that is to better connect resources in food systems in the circumpolar north. Enter cooperative extension services. I've lived in a variety of states and have seen a lot of different incarnations of what I call the people's university, right? Cooperative extension is, I think, the best route that people have to just get baseline knowledge of food safety and home canning and food prep and gardening and a lot of really valuable skills that are sometimes lost between generations. So Melissa and I started talking, and Melissa actually brought up a team from Iowa State and their extension program. And through that, I just attended a class, and what happened next is history. And we both became the two only, I believe, Melissa, certified local food leaders in the state. And so that's what I do, and that's who we are. And Melissa is based in Palmer. I'm based in Anchorage. Hopefully we'll have some more local food leaders in a couple months all around the state. So if you all could help us out and understand who we're talking to, I see that we have 33 people in here. If you could chat your names, where you live, do you already work in food systems, and why you're interested. We won't be able to read all of that during the session, but it will definitely help us know who our audience is and who's interested in this certificate. So I'm going to ask you to be bold and put your information out there on the chat. And this is a good simulation for how a lot of this certificate will happen. It is an online learning experience. Oh, right on, Forages Cooperative. Awesome. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to focus and type their information in.
I saw it snowed beautifully in Fairbanks, so that's fun.
We got Kelly here. Hi, Kelly. Gretchen.
Hi, Adair. Welcome. Oh, nice to see you, Marissa. Oh boy, I'm losing.
Got it. Chris wants to be a local food leader. Leslie from Fairbanks. Oh, hey, Glenna. This is great. I love doing food systems presentations because if I don't know the people in the room, I have heard of you. This is like, I love working in food in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool. Oh, hey, Dolores.
Yay.
And Donna Ray. Okay, cool. Keep it up. We're going to come back to this. I'm going to save the chat. And this is, again, I think I know a lot of you, so we'll be able to chat afterwards. Oh, yeah. Hi, Emma. Okay, cool. I'm going to get out of the chat for a second. Thank you for sharing that. It's important for us to see who is actually getting this information from around the state and who's interested and why. And it looks like we have a really broad spectrum of food systems professionals, food systems enthusiasts, and those of you looking to build more of a local network. And something I always say, as with different hats on, especially co-chairing the Alaska Food Policy Council, we are clearly not to the point where we have solved hunger or our broken supply chain or the fact that we're end of the road in getting food delivered. Our last mile distribution in the state is tough. And so anytime anyone wants to jump into food systems, welcome, thank you, let's keep going. So whatever you all are working on already, thank you.
Hey,
It's
Shannon.
gonna be hard not to, I'm focused on the chat. All right, Melissa, you wanna man the chat for a little bit? I'm gonna move on.
Sure.
Okay, so for those of you who are, maybe this is your first conference, you are new to food systems, let's just establish some baseline vocabulary for what we're talking about. This came from the Alaska Food Policy Council several years ago, and it's meant to portray what a food system is. So often, let's see, do I have my pointer? Doesn't matter. In the middle, in the green globes, we'll see what we often see as it's a linear food chain, right? So it starts at production, it goes all the way through waste, and that's what we see as a very transactional system, right? When you think about a farmer growing lettuce in California or avocados in Mexico, and then they get to Alaska, we eat the avocado and we throw the pit and the peel away, or more likely the whole avocado because it's already gone bad in the 15-minute window on your counter. And that's what we see as a linear transactional food chain. Turns out that food systems requires some systems thinking. And so we have all of these other components that really matter to the resilience and sustainability, and I will say sovereignty of a food system. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. So you can see the outer golden globes. We have the food safety, education, which is why we're all here, food policy and regulation, transportation, right, supply chain, the research that will inform decision-making, and all of that will output or go into our economy, and not just our food economy, but our general economy, our health and our healthcare system, our state of food security and disaster preparedness, and definitely our social and our cultural norms. So, and Melissa, let me know if you want to jump in on this one. I can see you, we can flag each other. So that's a model put out by the Alaska Food Policy Council. This is the one I am most often sharing. It is from the Inuit Circumpolar Council of Alaska. They've put out a variety of food systems frameworks and reports. I love reading their work. If you're interested at all, you should check it out. Inuit Circumpolar Council of Alaska. Carolina Behe is doing a presentation during this conference, and she is a powerhouse of knowledge and just so well articulates how diverse our food system is up here, which means that there should be more diversity in policy and practices. And so this framework is a drum, and it came from ICC. And what I want to point out is looking at the differences in language here. So understanding that Indigenous languages are extremely critical to food system resiliency. One of the other things I like to point out here is the handle of the drum where we see food sovereignty. Anybody here want to tell us in the chat or your microphone what food sovereignty is or means to you? Asking you to get vulnerable. give the chat a second. All right, if you want to later chime in, the way that we talk about food sovereignty, and I say we, oh yeah, thanks Jill. Those who produce the food have a say or level of control, yes, in how it is consumed, sold, and sustained. And Glenn is talking about rights, the right of a people to healthy and culturally appropriate food, controlled by the people who consume it. Christopher says, having a say in the food that you eat, grow, have access to. You guys nailed it. Thank you. It is about choice, and food sovereignty is about choice in your food system, choice to the foods that you grew up with. Our local food hero from this afternoon, Chef Amy Foote, talks a lot about the power of offering indigenous foods to indigenous populations at the Alaskan Native Medical Center. And that's just one example. We all have our own food stories and our food histories. And this model of the drum, I think, really represents all of the pieces that have gone into our food identity. So I will not belabor that point anymore, but this is a great model. I encourage all of you to think about exploring it more and using it.
Hey, Rachel, would you mind putting that in the chat, the address? Could you do that?
Yes, let's see. Oh, it worked. Here we go.
Just for anyone who is interested.
There you go.
Awesome.
Oh, and Kelly chimed in. Great comment, Kelly, thanks. Great. And a lot of this, I realize I'm preaching to the choir. Most of us are here because we believe in food security and food sovereignty and understand it is a very critical part of our existence as humans. So the chat to this, or the link to this is in the chat. So quickly, we're not going to belabor this too much because this whole conference is about this. But when we talk about what's happening in Alaska's food system, it is really important to think about the magnitude of what is happening, right? And I think that the phrase think global, act local is really important here. And that best represents what local food leadership is about. We are in a global food system. We have lots of food. 96, 95% of our food is imported from other parts of the world. And often it is from even further away than where it comes from, you know, Tacoma, Washington, and the West Coast. And we think about, you know, I worked in seafood for a couple of years, thinking about the food that we harvest out of the ocean. It's cheaper to send overseas and process and come back for consumption in the United States. That is wild to me. And, but it's a function of our global economy. And so thinking about what's happening in food entrepreneurship, I feel like I see new food businesses in Alaska popping up every day. Thinking about what's happening in food policy, and as has been discussed by a couple speakers today, when you look at food policy, you cannot disconnect that from poverty and from a fair wage and from housing fairness, access to housing, access to energy. And so if you feel overwhelmed right now, that's okay. Food systems are, it's a big thing to tackle and to talk about. I love working with my students at APU who they say, I want to write a paper on food systems. And I'm like, okay. And you just watch the learning arc of them like drinking the Kool-Aid from the fire hose. And then they finally, you know, they eventually all do narrow down into their scope of interest. But all of this to say that food systems work is work for everyone. Melissa, you want to chime in?
Nope, you're on a roll.
Okay. So there are a lot of different ways that we learn about food systems, right? We learn about food systems first and foremost from our families and our communities. That's our first interaction with really learning about what we eat, why we eat, how we eat it. And then most of us who want to get more into food will seek out some sort of formal education, farm and garden internships, job training. Shout out to Seeds of Change. I know a couple of y'all are here, which is a hydroponic operation in Anchorage that focuses on youth empowerment and skill building. People can take university courses. You can take whole degrees up like to beyond PhDs in food systems. Most of us live in the community classes though, where we just want to learn a little bit more. And so we go to a class that is approachable and doesn't require 25 years of our lives. So we know that there exists a whole smattering of food systems education opportunities in the state, but there is room for more with financially accessible classes that are explicitly about food systems and focused on training of trainers, right? So distributing skill sets in communities where people can then build their own local networks. That's where the magic happens. It shouldn't be a centralized source of knowledge. And the logos up here, we have Cooperative Extension Services, Alaska Pacific University's Spring Creek Farm, we have a training farm, UAF's Institute of Ag and Natural Resources and Extension, and then one of my favorites, I'm in the way. My face is in the way. The Matanuska Experiment Farm and Cooperative Extension Center. All really wonderful partners for food systems education. But we think we can add one more. So enter the local food leader. It's a training and a certification. Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit about how we got into this as a state and how Alaska is really cool that we were in the pilot class for this?
Yeah, so it was a part of a grant to, it started off with 5 states trying to see, with ag marketing research services, trying to see where they, kind of a mapping program, see where things from production to distribution, where things are grown, where things are produced, and then how they're shipped and how long it takes for them to get there and that sort of thing. And so we did surveys in several different communities throughout the state to say, hey, does your food come from? And honestly, the survey was just really ill-equipped for Alaska. It did not apply. Many of the questions were just not appropriate for Alaskans. And so we realized, you know, we really are a different kind of breed. And so though that cohort who was doing the research for mapping, it kind of branched off into, oh, we really need to figure out how to have healthy food systems, and we need to train leaders within each community to rise up and to make sure that these food systems are healthy and resilient. And so Iowa State and USDA and several different partners came together, and we were fortunate enough to become one of the pilot states that they did their training and offered it to us. We did a workshop, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and just to see, okay, is there interest in a local food leader type thing for Alaskans, and what would that look like? And so when Iowa State came here to do the program, they were blown away by the interest, the input, and also their inability to understand what a lot of us were talking about. And so Rachael and I have been working closely with them, and so this particular training that Rachael and I will be doing is truly geared towards with the Alaskan lens. And so it's not just some ambiguous training that you know, anybody can have. We have really tried to tailor it to Alaskans.
Awesome, thanks. So on that note, again, if you think of Iowa, you don't really think of commercial fishing or, you know, hunting megafauna. And so the reason that we like this program is that the creators of it were very willing to adapt and localize programming. So it is existing scaffolding, it is existing baseline knowledge with the opportunity to, if you will, Alaskify it. And this will be the first time that Melissa and I have offered this in state. So this is a pretty exciting time. Here's a little bit more about it. And I just want to point out the areas of focus. So This certificate does start with a baseline teachings of food systems, what is a food system, and then it goes into different skill set development. So community meeting facilitation, coalition development, and then things like putting together a grant proposal with a budget and a project timeline, things that, you know that all these pieces go together to make a good food project, but sometimes those individual skill sets are lost on people. And so this is a way to roll it all together and train some more local food leaders. So this is what everyone's like, well, what is this? What are you talking about? How does this work? So here's how it works. We are in times of COVID. This will be a completely online experience unless something radical happens. But we are anticipating launching cohort 1 in January of 2021. And it's 4 months and there's 4 modules. So these are the different modules. You start out with learning about what local food leaders do for community and with community food systems. And then it gets a little more tactical into methods of engagement and leadership, creating teams and tools for success, and then arguably most important, evaluation of your projects. Is what you're doing what it's supposed to be doing? Does your project actually matter, and how can you measure it to know that? Not only is that important for grant funding, it's important to know if you're actually doing the work and getting the results that you set out to get. Here is an example of Module 1, and this is what it looks like on the online platform that we use. And so you can see they've curated different speakers from around the nation. A big chunk of this Module 1 was about racial equity, diversity, and understanding how to more effectively hold inclusive meetings and create resources that are actually representative of the population that you're working with, rather than, there are a lot of whitewashed resources out there, and that time is done. We're not here for it anymore. So I did appreciate that about this program, is that they are striving to bake in diversity rather than have it be a tack-on chapter like, oh, and we also talk about diversity. This is not that. I think at this point, let me show you. Let me get in here. I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you what this looks like from the online platform perspective. So share, don't judge me, and all of my tabs that are open. Okay, what can you see, Melissa?
I do see local food leader online training and certification, and lots.
Scrolling?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what the platform looks like. They use Moodle. Don't be intimidated by any of the platforms yet. We would go through a major training and welcome session with everyone. But it's fairly straightforward when you get into the program. And so it tells you what to do. We have our syllabus posted. Module 1 is what I just covered. All of the resources are linked in the platform. This is a little more what's covered in Module 2 with methods of engagement. And please note that there are tests here. So there are assignments and deliverables and tests that make sure this knowledge is actually sinking in, and that the local food leaders will have this knowledge to then train people in the future.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really like about this program too is that all of the assignments that they give you are like you're working within your community. You're actually doing the work of a local food leader. And so it's not just this ambiguous idea of, okay, create something. You know, it's like kind of putting your feet to the fire and saying, okay, what project are you going to do? How are you going to do a feasibility statement, or, you know, those sorts of things. So, I mean, it's a very practical training.
Cool. Let's go. I'm going to share the PowerPoint again. Okay, here's the details. We do believe this is for everyone. I have had even state legislators reach out to me and say, what are some other good resources? They're already involved in food systems, but they want to learn more about, you know, the bigger picture. So anyone from, if you want to learn more, I think that this is for you, but it can be parlayed into some very impactful work from the policy level, from the grant writing perspective, from the project management perspective. I look at Kodiak as one of the shining stars of food systems resiliency in the state. Again, this is not, they weren't part of this project, but that community has a ton, now they have a ton of food systems development knowledge. And what if every community in Alaska could look like that? And so that's kind of what we're doing with this local food leader certification. We are seeing this take place January through May. It'll be all online. And as we said, there will be weekly meetings. Melissa and I found when we went through this that often we didn't meet weekly. And so there was a little bit of a feeling that we were learning in a vacuum. So this will be weekly meetings, monthly deliverables that will be graded. And there is a cost. This will fluctuate from cohort to cohort depending on the number of people who sign up. Right now it's approximately $275 per person. And that's all materials included, anything that you need, access to the online platform. We do have a significant number of scholarships available from both the Alaska Farmers Market Association and from FRESH, the Food Research Enterprise and Sustainability Hub, for this first cohort. So do not let any pricing deter you. We're ready to work with a large number of students in this cohort. And why would you do this? Again, we think it's for everyone. This is a good intro to food systems. It is, if you want another credential to differentiate yourself, this is a way to, you don't have to apply to a university. As a university educator, I do believe in university education, but it might not be the right time in your life to do that. And so this is a kind of like a gateway certificate. It should be a great opportunity to network, to start a local movement. And Melissa and I are seeking advice for the next version. What kind of content would you like to see in cohort 2? What sorts of materials could we use to better Alaskify this? And so in the offering of many scholarships, we are expecting a significant amount of feedback from the student base to help us improve this. And ideally for them to then offer the certification in their communities in the future. What am I missing, Melissa?
I think you've pretty much covered it. It is a certification process. So once you've completed the training, you will be a certified local food leader. And that is a big deal, I think. So something to put in your cap.
Put in your back pocket.
That's
you guys
right.
are all picking up on my jokes here in the chat. Shanna said it's a gateway drug to food systems. That's how I feel, right? I'm always wary to make gateway drug jokes, but that's what we're talking about. Like, this could just take you so many places. So
Jennifer asked about the deadline for sign up and if there is a limit to our class. These are great questions.
I hope we get to the point where we have to limit it. That will be such an awesome problem. We will have more of those details in coming weeks as we finalize our curriculum with Iowa. When we're done, and we're going to end this session with an activity from the certification so you can get a feel of what it's like. At the end, we'll chat out a place for everyone to share their emails, and we'll put you on our mailing list. And that way we can keep you updated as you know, the scholarship applications roll out and we have a more finalized timeline. No, Deshanna, it's not only asynchronous. So the deliverables and you doing your own work is asynchronous, but we will have weekly, synchronous, or all together at the same time meetings on Zoom, so we can talk about this and we can debrief it and people can share their lessons learned.
And I do think we probably will have to limit it to no more than 20, just because as we share and connect, just giving us everyone opportunity and time to do that. So I don't think we'll have more than 20.
But think about that. Think if 20 people get certified to be local food leaders, and those 20 people in the next year can certify 20 more people each. The ripple effect of this is potentially very huge. Melina says, participate if you have normal. Yeah, we will set this up to make this for people with jobs and kids and lives. We both have day jobs. This is a part of it, but it's not our entire existence. And so we're all on the same page there. Oh, great. Is it Kellen or Kaylin? We'll save your email. Thank you. Kellen, got it. Thanks. Okay.
So Rachel,
that isn't enough. Yeah.
Did you answer how they can register?
Oh, so yeah, Janice says, where do we look for advertising and registration? The Food Policy Council will put the word out. Melissa and I will reach out to the email list today that we're building. We will send out more information about registration platform. We're wrestling with a couple different platforms right now, but it'll be fairly straightforward and a platform that you're familiar with. So registration, advertising, yeah, stay on the Facebook. And if you're not on the Facebook, give us your email at the end and we'll take care of you. Melissa, what else? Any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. That is a great question, Deshanna. Opportunity for university credit. So Melissa, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I had actually spoken with the provost about this, and we are, if there is a great interest, we are willing to consider trying to make it for credit. But that is not going to be happening with this first cohort, unfortunately. So just so you know.
Okay, I was going to say the same thing. I have talked to other people in our training cohort from across the nation. Lots of schools are looking at offering this because it is a nice framework or a nice skeleton to offer a food systems class. We're at APU not prepared to offer this in the spring either, but we should see, moving forward, we'd like to know more about the demand. Go ahead, Melissa.
I would say that that Rachael and I have been on a national committee of dealing with core competencies for various curriculums. And this is one of those that meets those core competencies for just across the board. And so the tricky part is that Rachael and I are from two different universities, and we are the only trainers. And so it just gets a little sticky. So currently it's not for credit, and we'll just leave it at that. But it does meet the competencies of I mean, it's a very high rated program.
I think that was well said. We're working at different institutions and we're figuring out the politics. We just want to train people, but those are great questions. I'm just catching up on the comments. Jennifer says, would it be appropriate for high school students? I think so. It'd be a stretch because the work takes some knowledge of, community engagement and resources in the community. I would have to go back and look at this and say if I really recommend it for a high school student. I think there's ways to adapt it for a high school student, but I don't know. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm inclined to say probably a young adult, but not high school student. It is pretty that's a great question.
Yeah. I can see definitely a youth-focused version because youth organizing might look a little bit different. Let's keep talking about that. Jennifer, I don't have a good answer for that right now. The skills are important, but I just want to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to answer Donna Ray's. Yes, this program is offered through Iowa State and through several different states, but they all use Iowa State's program and they use their Moodle platform. And so, yes, it is a nationwide program.
And there's other places that are also localizing it with their own content. That is a great idea, Deshanna. Exposure is always great, right, for high schoolers, because they're right on that cusp, and that you can't. I don't like keeping experiences from high schoolers because we're about to kick them out into the real world, and they're about to experience things. But maybe just a little, like a group dynamic for high schoolers, I think would be really important. What else do we have in here?
Yeah, I think thinking on the high school thing, I think if they had like a mentor that they were working with, I think it would be a good program for them. But just a high schooler on their own, I don't know that that would be, I think it would just be pretty intimidating and overwhelming. So I do think that a high schooler could do the work. I just think a mentor would be a really good idea.
Yeah, cool. Oh, good, Jill. Okay, good. So you were in the right place in the beginning. Perfect. So if there are any more questions, let's see, let's do a time check right now. It's 2:21. We have till 2:45, and Melissa's going to run us through a personal values exercise that's taken directly from the certification. I am going to share you on a resource that everyone needs to, let's see. So you're going to need to access the chat for this. Here is a Google Doc. Go ahead and go open this up, and it's editable. So don't do anything to it yet. Just go open that up. What's up?
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't edit it because everyone else will get to see what you're doing. So anyway, what we're going to be doing is an activity that happens within the training, and it's a personal values worksheet. And honestly, I guess people are wondering why would we do this in a leadership thing? Why do personal values matter? But honestly, they act as a guide. They guide our behaviors, our beliefs, and even our culture. And they support and center our way of life. They really do kind of inform our perception of right and wrong. But the thing is, they are continuously evolving. So it's really important to check in with yourself periodically to see what your core values really are. If you look at this core value worksheet, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I want you just to list, hopefully you have a piece of paper handy or maybe your phone, and so you can type it in your notes, but I want you to list your top 12 values from the sheet. Yes, ma'am.
And I also chatted, you can click file in the link I just sent you, click file and make a copy for your own use if you want to use your own.
So there you go. You got options, but I'm going to give you 3 minutes and I want you to choose your top 12. So go for it. And Rachel, you can sing if you want. Do the
Jeopardy.
Yeah, the Jeopardy song.
I was actually I'm gonna write directions on this whiteboard.
Oh, great. So just pick 12. And maybe if you're done, you could give me a thumbs up so that if everyone's done, we don't have to go the entire time.
This is Bruce from SICK. Is this document supposed to be in the chat feature somewhere?
Yeah, so Rachel shared it. Well, it was from room 4, it says, to everyone. It's a Google Doc. Can you share
see
it?
it.
I'll share it again. I'll share it again. Here it comes. There you go.
Do you see that?
It's not. I'm not getting a response.
Rachel, is there a way you
In
could
the
just
chat?
share it on your screen so they could see what they are?
Sure, that's a good idea. What do you see?
Yep, I see it. It's, I don't see all of it though.
That should be from accountability at the top to
Yeah,
democracy
Yep.
down at the bottom.
Yep, we got it.
Cool.
So for those of you who are just now seeing it, you do not have 3 minutes. Apologies. Pick 12 as quickly as you can. Okay, your 3 minutes are up. So hopefully you found 12. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes and I want you to choose 5 out of those 12. Okay?
So look at your own list, right? Look at your
Yes.
own list.
Out of the 12 that you chose to be your core values, I want you to choose 5, starting now. Are you choosing yours, Rachel?
I'm not, I'm typing to Joshana in the chat.
Oh, okay. So after you chose the 12, right now, I want you to choose 5 out of those 12, Jill. Yep.
I need one more screen to share, like a split screen.
Well, that's a good idea. Just a few more seconds to get your 5 together. Okay, so now from those 5, I'm going to give you 1 minute, 60 seconds or less to pick your top 3 out of those 5. So pick your top 3 out of the 5. I think there's like 60 some odd choices. So narrowing it down to 3 can be tricky.
I think there's like 120.
Is there? Yeah, I have no
30
idea.
times 4. Yeah.
Oh, wow. There's even more than I thought. Okay, your time is up. So hopefully you have your top 3. So how was this activity? Was it difficult or was it easy to pick out? We'd love some feedback. Easy. Right on. Great. So I'm curious if any of you were surprised by your top 3 personal values. And if so, why or why not? So it looks like Glenna's in touch with her. That was easy for her. Sarah, definitely overthinking can be a problem in activities like these.
Jennifer says it was challenging. Do we have any tips for identifying values? This is not uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah, so you may actually be wondering why are we even doing this? But this activity is really meant to highlight that personal values are different from everyone. And regardless of, oops, sorry, I lost my screen there for a minute. Regardless of what capacity you are as a leader, many times work in the food systems arena is extremely personal, and people are coming at this work from all different values and perspectives. And it's always a really good idea to recognize the values that you have really do drive you, and it helps you to really keep in touch and help us to become better leaders when we're aware of what's important to us, what's driving us, and why am I so passionate about this particular thing. So this is just a really quick activity that, and we didn't even really go into the whole thing. This is just a really small taste of what, but it's, this program really does help you learn more about yourself so that you can become a better leader. So anyway, there you go.
And I'll just add to that, the cohort that we went through this with was extremely diverse from a national platform, and understanding how we all shared out and understanding what other people's personal values are, it's invaluable. You're not going to change other people's personal values, but at least you will know who's at the table. And I think that part of the communication often gets missed, right? People want to assume that their platform is the norm and what everyone else believes, and it's just simply not the case. So I think that this is a lot of these exercises are about building common ground and common language.
That is a perfect point. And I do think that is so important, is to realize you really do need to get to know those people that you're working closely with and understand what their values are as well.
Glenna says, oh, great comment, Glenna, good. I think I had one more slide. Oh, okay. I got everyone's emails here in the chat, and I'm just looking at the time because it's 2:35 and we're done at 2:45. So these are our emails. I have the chat copied from everyone who sent us their emails. We'll put you on the list, but Melissa, do you want to take questions now? We can take questions, chat. You guys can go get more coffee.
Hi, this is Tessa Holmes. I had a question about the scale of the projects that we'll be working on for this. If you guys could just give some more examples about what types of projects people do for each module, or kind of a bit more detail about that.
Do you
Do you
have
want to
that?
take that, Melissa?
Do you have that the modules up still in Google?
Oh, I think we're losing it. I heard the question was looking at the scale of projects that people want to bring to the table in the certificate. Is that the question I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, there are one of the projects is a personal development plan worksheet, so which is super helpful. But they have you go through and do a plan of work, and then there's another project where you're naming your outputs and your outcomes, your desired outcomes, and really learning what those things are. And, a lot of times people get those confused. And so those are just a couple of examples. Do you have more, Rachel?
I'm thinking of, this happens to me in a lot of classes. Students either come into the class with a project they want to work on, which I think will likely be the case for the certificate. I would say that the tools are widely applicable to a couple $100,000 USDA grant if you want to do the groundwork to be able to write a grant like that. You want to get together a local community food group that just gets together and meet. I think that spectrum can be addressed with this certificate. And if you have a more specific ask, let me know, or let us know so we can see if it's the right fit. And there are people who will come to this certificate who do not have a project in mind. They just want to learn more, and that's okay too. Going back to the questions, so Jennifer says, folks in rural areas with not great internet, can they do this? So I would like this to be widely accessible. Melissa, I know you want this to be widely accessible. Some of the key things, they're going to need to be able to watch videos online. And for the Zoom sessions, I would assume it'd be okay to call in. Melissa, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I think we have been doing that with other programs, and it doesn't seem to be a problem if they call in on their phone, and as long as they have some type of internet access for those training modules.
Yeah. Helen's question.
So
Thanks, Melissa.
Hey, Rachel and Melissa, this is Glenna. So I just wanted to clarify, or I guess ask for everyone. So it sounds like there's a train the trainer kind of component to this program. Am I understanding that correctly? The idea being that, those who take this program can then give you guys feedback as pilot participants, but also potentially go and be certifiers for local.
That is true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They do have a train the trainer program. Yes.
So that's not necessarily what this one is, or?
No, this is not the train the trainer. This is train people to be the local food leaders. Once you're certified as a local food leader, you can go through the training to train others in this program.
Okay.
To follow up on that, is that train the trainer training with Iowa State, or will that be something that both of you are developing?
That is through Iowa State.
Okay.
And I think what'll be interesting as we see what the traction is for our first cohort, Courtney and Kaylee are the women who run the program, and they were up here for the first pilot course. They're familiar with Alaska. Again, they didn't develop curriculum specifically for Alaska, but they know the state, they know the scale of distance between places. And so I do think that if there's a strong interest to have a trainer, a train the trainers session, we could figure this out.
Yeah, for
sure. We
sure.
want to see who gets through the certificate.
They already have, I mean, they're very accommodating, and yeah. So if there is interest in having a training session for trainers, we can definitely pursue that and make that happen.
Oh, and I just saw there was another Whova chat that happened. Sorry, between the Zoom and the Whova. Amy from Edibles asking, is this for 2021? Yes. So this is January through May 2021. So coming up in the spring. How many hours per week is a great estimate? Melissa, do you have or it's a good question. Melissa, do you have an estimate?
I don't, but we can give you that information. If you are interested and you leave your email with us, I know that they do have kind of an estimate of how much time each module takes, but I'm not sure if they break it down as far as weeks are concerned.
So one of my learnings from this,
I was just going to say, I think it's very manageable. For me personally, I was able to do it no problem, even outside of my regular work. But it also really helped me with my regular work because it, made me do a plan of work, and it made me do things that I needed to do for my job anyways. So, so if that's helpful at all.
And I would just add to that it varies. It seems that it varied widely based on people's pre-existing experiences with project management and food systems. Going back to like if a college freshman who was fresh out of high school was taking this versus someone who's been a nonprofit program manager for 20 years, it's going to take a very different time for each of them to get familiar. And from my recollection, each module took different amounts of investment. So depending on if you are creating a project plan, takes a different amount of time than if you are reading for reports, and everyone works differently. I think we could say, you could spend 5 hours a week, but I don't want to give you a number because I just don't know how people are as students.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid thing. So depending on your experience level and, just some people do things really quickly and some people really labor over things. So the time is kind of fluid there, but I don't think it's something that is unreasonable.
For a working professional.
For a working professional, correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we talked about how fast this is going to go. It's 2:43, and we have coming up right now, our session ends at 2:45, and there is a conference break from 2:45 to 3, and then we'll all come back together for the next round of sessions. I encourage everyone to check out our auction site, to fill out our demographic survey. Megan's been going around and adding those links. So just anybody if you have questions about how to better support the conference, we can share those with you too. Kellen says he's seriously pumped for this, many ideas. Oh, good, great. That's the whole point. Thanks for engaging, everyone. This was, we had about 40 people in the peak, and this was really great. And this is work that Melissa and I love to do, so.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. We are very passionate about food and all things food. So thanks for joining us. We really hope to have you join us in the spring for Local Food Leader.
We'll keep y'all posted.